Hello, good morning. Today I will tell you what are my answers for the fourth questions, which is the first one is how did English arrive in Bangladesh? As I know, there are three major eras in Bangladesh political history, which can be used to categorize English history that reflect the language's evolving status and significance in the country. English first appeared in the Indian subcontinent during the British colonial era, which happens during 1757 to 1947. The 1630s, the 1630s saw the establishment of English trading factories in Bengal, which lead to the first interactions between Indians and British people. English was first used as means of communication between English traders and native middlemen, with neither business or nor institutional opportunity to acquire it. And then the development of English schools, initially for children from Europe and then for locals with the intention of promoting Western knowledge, English and English literature broadened the reach of learning English in the following century. And then, in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the East India Company did nothing to support the expansion of education, which despite the fact that English was gaining dominance in the colonized area. And this Charter Act of 1813, which declared to set aside money for Indian education, however, brought the company into the field of education for Native Americans. Although the act had the dual objectives of reviving and enhancing Indian literatures and languages, and introducing Western language and science along Orientalist and Anglicist lines. Respectively, the Anglicist position informed Macaulay's Minute of I mean Minute of 1835, which argued for English medium Western education only. And since Persian was no longer used for colonial administration, English became extremely in demand as a result of the new policy. And the next question is what is the status of English in terms of education and language policies in Bangladesh? So, the status of English in terms of education and language policies in Bangladesh um, is that it's not easy to assess the state of English in Bangladesh nowadays because this is mostly English does not have what is referred to as status planning. But then, sorry, there isn't any English related policy that can be implemented to the entire society. And despite the fact that language issues are particularly important to the country's social, cultural, and political life, language does not appear to have gotten a comparable amount of policy attention. And then the national education policy, for instance, has chapters on every type of education that imaginable, including adult and non-formal education, women's education, religious and moral education, physical education, and legal education. Yet, there isn't a single chapter on languages or language instruction. In question number 3, it answers the language of instruction and as a language in which students are expected to acquire functional ability education in which in a where I mean crucial area where English is widespread. School English achievement has yet to have a substantial impact on society due to the ineffective nurturing of English in education. And in different educational streams place different emphasis on English in their courses, in which, in an accurate or simple evaluation of English rules in the workplace is not possible. And in Bangla, may be sufficient for many vocations, even though some may call for high levels of English competence and I think other communication abilities as well. And in contrast, into the public sector, English is predominates in the commercial sector, in which within the first, personnel must be able to communicate effectively in English in the banking, education, and ready-made clothing industries. And for an instance, research in English usage in the I think RMG industry demonstrates the importance of the language in terms of marketing, merchandising, and business operations. Since this industry primarily uses Bangla to serve its native audience, as well as the Bangladeshi diaspora around the world. And English plays a limited role in media and entertainment as well. Hindi plays a big part in entertainment as well as Hindi music is frequently heard in the public spaces. The indigenous film industry, which is struggling to survive, has been rapidly losing market share to Bollywood films from India and Bangladesh. Since then, the Hollywood movies and Western music are only enjoyed in privileged homes. Bangla is the primary language of communication in Bangladesh. However, English plays an important role in selecting and preparing news from foreign media outlets for local consumption. In Bangladesh, politics and political speech are conducted in Bangla, in which other than Bangla, using another language in this sector could be seen as politically inappropriate and have major ramifications. And the official websites of the major political parties, such as the Bangladesh Awami League, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, I think, Bangladesh Jatiya Party, and the Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami, are maintained in both English and Bangla, but all of the parties' political programs and activities are carried out in the latter language, which given to the history of the national language movement and as a strong linguistic nationalism. And that is very understandable about the history of Bangladesh in English. And the NGO Affairs Bureau, the government division in charge of monitoring NGO operations in Bangladesh, had a list of over, I think, 2,600 such groups. NGOs typically focus on issues related to minority rights, the environment, health, sanitation, microfinance, education, and Women's empowerment. Sorry. These are financed by both domestic and foreign sources. The largest NGO in the world, the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee, as well as a campaign for popular education. World Vision, Proshika, which is a Center for Human Development, and the Association for Social Advancement are significant NGOs that operate in Bangladesh. The Bangladeshi writing in English, though it has been in the area from the early 19th century, I think, has not yet won widespread acclaim. In this regard, BWE falls short of its counterparts in India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, which have literary history books and have attracted a lot of critical acclaim. But expanding beyond Bangladesh present borders, Bangladeshi email communication is defined by the use of English, in which email is not the official method of communication in the public sector, but despite the fact that it undoubtedly predominates in the private sector, the notion of governments speak, in which it accepts all variations of Englishes, including received standard, local, Creoles, and Pidgins, was developed in accordance with the extent, nature, type, and purpose of English used in the clothing business. However, upon using the WE perspective while examining the email correspondence of industry, executives in the clothing industry. And the last question is, what is code mixing, code switching, and technology mediated innovations in Bangladesh? So, the urban language landscape contains instances of code mixing and linguistic errors, particularly in signs and billboards. Examples in Dhaka include digital auto and bike center, which are which are all English words written in Bangla. And health and hope specialized hospital, which is written in Bangla, but the first four words are actually English. And the Lamye furniture, in which is in which it is written in English, but the first two words are two letters from the Arabic alphabet, which is Akashbahi, Holidays and Health and Hope Specialized Hospital, which is written in both Bangla and English, but the first word is Bangla. It is without a doubt true that English is the most widely used and spread language in the entire world. And then, Bangladesh is similar to the other nations in that English is taught at every grade level and through every medium of instructions there. More recently, it has been since that university students utilize English when speaking with one another, indicating a blend of two languages. Each language serves as a societal purpose that no other language could possibly fill. Perhaps as a result, code switching has started to appear frequently in Bangladeshi talks lately. And one of the key components in a country's development is innovation, adoption, and implementation, which is mediated by information and communication technology, for short ICT. And its improvement could increase the ability of developing nations to produce. Even emerging nations buy a lot of technology from one another countries, from one another countries. Individual and organizational technological efforts and talents ultimately determine success. Yeah. And and by developing countries are constrained in their ability to both fully utilize those important technologies and later produce an indigenous technology due to a lack of capacity, technological know-how, training, and experience. And now that we have conceived macro, meso, and micro as a three distinct interrelated social levels, it is necessary to know and comprehend the functions, dynamics, and critical success aspects of the innovation, adoption, implementation of these ICT-led efforts. And that's it about the Bangladeshi English. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Thank you and have a blessed day.